Now, call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order on June 14th, 2022. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Knudsen.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Wynn.
Present.
Goodrich.
All council members except Councilmember Goodrich are present, as is the mayor, the city clerk, the city attorney, the city administrator, and several other staff in the audience. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Huynh, seconded by Gross. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, the agenda is approved. On to item number 4, very special event that we have here this evening. We will be appointing a new council member to fill the seat that has been vacated. So we will have a resolution, and then we will have a brief discussion, and then we will do the swearing in. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution appointing council member to serve out the unexpired term of Councilmember Jill Dodds, introduced for adoption by.
So moved. Yep.
Moved by Knudsen, seconded by Gross. All right. I'll start off the discussion just by reminding everyone of the process that we went through to get to this point. After the resignation of our colleague, we had a lengthy discussion about whether or not to fill the vacancy through a special election or through an appointment. We weighed the pros and cons and decided ultimately to follow through with the appointment. The process, we had a lot of leeway with the process. The way we went about this was that we decided to hold interviews, public interviews, during a special meeting. That happened on June 9th, and anyone who is interested in those interviews or watching that process, that video is available on the Coralville website, and the entire interview, all the interviews and our discussion are all available to watch. And so after our discussion, we reached a consensus. We had a lot of great, fantastic candidates, but one really stood out for his lengthy service to the city of Coralville, and that is Keith Jones. And so we are very excited to vote on this evening and to have Keith join us. Are there any other comments or any other discussion from any other members of the council on this?
I'd just like to thank all the applicants, and tonight kind of illustrates one of the reasons we did this. I especially thank Mitch for coming back. He's in a meeting in Des Moines right now, although you can't tell it, and we'll have to leave soon after we get, assuming we vote as perhaps
Yes.
expected,
Yes.
would have to leave. So I really appreciate him coming back. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a quorum.
Exactly. That's a really great point. That does illustrate one of the reasons why we did choose, in addition to the cost savings,
Right.
It's a busy time of year, and we do appreciate Mitch coming back, and you're going to scoot right out, right?
Soon, yeah.
Yes. Any other comments or questions or?
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you to all of the applicants who put in, who put themselves forward. I have to say that that's probably the most diverse pool of applicants that we've seen. It's great. It's great to see there are people who care deeply about this community and rise up to the call when we call for help. And I think, to your point, Mayor, it's not only cost saving, but having an appointment allow us to see more of a diverse pool. Because I think having an election might not bring out that diversity. So thank you again for participating, and we are excited to serve with Keith on the remaining term of former Council Dodge.
Fantastic. All right. Could we get the roll call, please?
Councilmember Gross.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved, all ayes with Goodrich absent. Now, on to item number 5, the swearing in of our newly appointed council members. So we'll have City Attorney Kevin Olson and Mr. Jones join us.
Here, I'm going to say, but if I go too fast, you can see what I'm following along here, so. Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? I state your name.
Keith Jones.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the office in Coralville, Iowa,
discharge all of the duties of the office in Coralville, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Welcome to the seat.
Oh, there we go. All right, you're jumping right in. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay, on to item number 6. I have 3 proclamations this evening. I will start with a proclamation for Pollinator Week. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of millions of Americans. And whereas the honeybee is an essential part of crop production in America and in producing a food source itself. And whereas we understand that our Iowa cities and counties have a critical role to play to help save these pollinator populations. And whereas we recognize the essential value and importance of Iowa native plants to our landscape and environment, and whereas we understand the importance of a native landscape has on the preservation of pollinators, and whereas the City of Coralville actively participates in creating and preserving pollinator habitat through our prairie restoration program and native milkweed seed distribution. And furthermore, let it be known that the City of Coralville encourages all residents to plant and protect native milkweed so that the monarch butterflies have the resources to produce successive generations and sustain their spectacular migration through the state of Iowa, and encourages all residents to plant and project other flowering nectar sources so that the honeybee will have the resources necessary to continue local honey production. Now, therefore, I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim the week of June 20th through 26th, 2022, to be Pollinator Week throughout the City of Coralville, and urge all citizens to recognize this observance by planting or preserving native plants. Signed on this 14th day of June, 2022, Megan Foster, Mayor. And we have our Parks and Rec Director, Sherry Proud, to share some information with us.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to say a few words, and then I'd like to invite a very special group up to come and accept that proclamation. The Parks and Recreation Department has been, I think, really very active the last 5 to 7 years in just conscientiously picking out new places in Coralville each year to look at how we can expand our pollinator species in our prairies. And so I wanted to just show you, for your information, a couple of areas we're working on this year. We have worked just north, just last night, in fact, we continued to work on the area around the Dovetail Recreation area, and then just south of the Dovetail Recreation area, starting over by the parking lot at Aguda-Sakim, and going back to the west, we have planted all of this now in a pollinator prairie. So just, is it not coming up? What's wrong? Oh, never. Okay. Well, no, it should be. Okay, technical difficulties. What's the matter? No. Okay. I may have to describe. I'll just give a description of where
All
we're
right.
working.
That works too.
Okay, shoot, I had little pictures. So working back to First Avenue is one of the areas that we are working on there. We had been mowing a very wide strip of area there up against the woodlands to the street, and have found that we didn't need to be mowing that much, and it was a great place for us to expand our pollinary prairie. And then the second area that we are working on was actually an idea of our neighbors on Holiday Road to Northridge Park. So we have to the northwest of Holiday Road a section of land that was intended at some point to have a trail go through it. The Northridge Trail had 2 tracks. It could go where it is today, or it could go through that area. And so that land was set aside for that. And we really haven't done anything with it. And when you walk it, you could really tell that we hadn't done anything with it. And so Harry Graves, who is the former chairperson of the Johnson County Conservation Board and worked for them, brought forward this wonderful idea. We are working with the neighbors to eradicate the Canadian thistle in that area, which has kind of taken over a large section of it. The drainage way, our staff have already started working on the broken limbs, derecho damage, just old trees that have broken there. And then as it will take us about probably 2 to 3 years to starve out the Canadian thistle through regular mowing and keeping that pretty short. And then we'll be able to go back in and plant native grasses, and then areas of pollinator pods, which are circles or ovals, and easier to kind of concentrate on those areas rather than doing the whole thing in pollinators. And we're planning a little footbridge and a mowed path so that people can use this as an extension of Northridge Park and really enjoy the beauty of natural habitat. So that's going on, and we'll be including all of the neighbors but to that park. But for now, we've got the Pollinator Pod Posse with us, and I'm going to let them accept this proclamation and introduce themselves.
Yes, all right. Why don't you each take a moment at the mic just to introduce yourselves, and then we'll take a photo.
I'm Harry Graves. There seems to be some consternation amongst the group here about speaking, but so I can introduce these folks, if you like. To my immediate left is my long-suffering wife and constant companion, Helen. And please stand up as you're addressed. And our good neighbor, Leanne Patton. And our good neighbor, Ralph Stevens. And Diana Kaufman. And Diana is the individual who designed our neat uniforms here for the posse and presented them to us. So we're very interested in improving this pretty much a waste space that's been invaded by Canada thistles over the years. And so it was this motivation, because we felt we were under plant attack here, to do something about that. So we got together and we met with Sherry, and we're very excited about the future of this project. So, certainly if you'd like to join the posse, we'd like to have you, because we're going to ride out here one of these mornings.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. On to the second proclamation of the evening for LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. Whereas the LGBTQIA+ communities across the nation annually celebrate Pride in their culture and community in the month of June. And whereas the annual celebration of Pride began as a collective protest for the rights of LGBTQIA+ individuals and communities. And whereas the national tradition of celebrating Pride in June is a tribute to the Stonewall riots of June 1969, which are remembered as the launch of the modern LGBTQIA+ rights movement. And whereas transgender people of color, including Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and Stormy DeLarverie, were the primary instigators of the national fight for LGBTQIA+ rights, and often gave their work and lives to the cause. And whereas the city of Coralville recognizes many LGBTQIA+ lives that continue to be lost each year in pursuit of living out their authentic identities. And whereas the city of Coralville welcomes and accepts people of diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions, and is proud to celebrate the contributions and culture of these citizens. And whereas each year Iowa City Pride brings together thousands of LGBTQIA+ people throughout Coralville and Iowa City from across Iowa and beyond to celebrate their shared identities and experience. And whereas Pride will be celebrating their 51st annual Pride Festival on June 18th. Now therefore, I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 to be Pride Month. Signed on this 14th day of June 2022, Megan Foster, Mayor. And we are very fortunate to have with us this evening the organizer of the Coralville Pride festivities, Tim Nedaba. Tim, would you like to come and say a few words about the Coralville Pride celebration that will be held in September?
Thank you. Appreciate honoring June and Pride Month and Iowa City Pride and the importance of recognizing that. For a long time, I've been trying to come up with an event for Coralville, and not to step on anyone's toes and interfere with what Iowa City does, we do a Pride Festival. And the Pride Festival is just an outgrowth of those who did all the hard work before us and made it possible, for Coralville to host a diverse and inclusive event like this. And so our second annual event is Sunday, September 4th. Last year, first we had the pandemic. Then last year we had a whole bunch of issues, pandemic questions, location, and thankfully Tavern Blue came through and we were an indoor festival. This year we make the leap to being an outdoor festival. And we can thank Green State Credit Union for providing their parking lot on 2nd Street. I get street and avenues mixed up, but still. And so that'll be Sunday, September 4th from 11 to 8, and we have a whole bunch of entertainment. Mayor Foster has been invited to co-host along with State Senator Zach Walz, a lot of other dignitaries, and so hopefully we've done a lot of press releases. Hopefully some of it will make a newspaper eventually, so we can get a little coverage. But also want to thank Kelly Hayworth, of course, and Mayor Lindell, former Mayor Lindell, Mayor Foster, and everyone for your support of this event and the entire Coralville community. So thank you.
Thank you, and I'm so excited that we, again, I like how you said it's not that we're trying to supplant or, pull focus from Iowa City, but that we have our own event here that for the city of Coralville. So I appreciate your organizing efforts. Would you like to take a photo? Yes. All right.
And Mayor, while you're coming back, I'm going to use some of my personal privilege time to talk since I won't be here at the end of the meeting. But Tim, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this and organizing it. And I do appreciate, Mayor, you signing this proclamation. It's an important one. I think one of the highlights I've had as Mayor Pro Tem is when a lot of times Pride fell on a time when John Lindell was gone. So I always got to read our proclamation at Pride Fest with my own kids. And just as an educator, I think this year in particular, what our students in the LGBTQ plus community have gone through, our trans students have been subjected to. I mean, this matters. And I think, we can't control what happens at the state level, but we can control what happens in our community. And I think it's so imperative that we make sure that Coralville, Iowa City, Johnson County always remains a safe and welcoming place for all of our citizens. And maybe you can't hide that Coralville pride will mean something else as well. So I appreciate, Tim, what you do. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, our third proclamation of this evening is for Juneteenth. Whereas independence for the Pilgrims from the colonial rule of Great Britain came in the year 1776 following the Revolutionary War. And whereas even after this independence was won for these individuals, people brought from Africa to this country were still forced to remain in legalized human slavery. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln did sign an executive order entitled the Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation in September 1862. And this was a test to see how the American people would react to the idea of freeing the human slaves from free labor, cruel treatment, sexual assaults, forced illiteracy, segregation of public services and amenities, and forced denouncement of their African roots. And whereas in January of 1863, President Lincoln issued the final Emancipation Proclamation, but the Confederate States of America did not honor it. After the Civil War and the defeat of the last troops in Galveston, Texas, on June 19th, 1865, the people of African descent were finally conditionally freed from slavery unless convicted of a crime. And whereas Juneteenth is the celebration of this historic event commemorating the national freeing of enslaved people in a way that cherishes the liberties that we now all share. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do join governments across the country to proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth, and urge all citizens to recognize this week by becoming aware of emancipation, which affects the liberties of all people and people of color to this very day. Signed on this 14th day of June, 2022, Megan Foster, Mayor. And we have some folks here to accept this proclamation as well. Local legend, Royce-Ann Porter, Johnson County Supervisor, organizer of the Black Voices Project is here with us tonight. Would you like to say a few words, Supervisor Porter? Yes.
Good evening. Just wanted to stand here before you guys and just talk about the importance of Juneteenth. It was not only a time for us to commemorate Black liberation from the institution of slavery, but also a time to highlight the resilience, the solidarity, and the cultural Black community. Therefore, we are very proud to say that we will be celebrating Juneteenth this Friday, the kickoff is downtown Iowa City. Our Juneteenth 2022 celebration is called Downtown at Sundown. It will begin at 5 p.m. and end at 9 p.m. There will be free food, bouncy houses. We've got a fashion show, entertainment, a comedian, DJ. We ask that you bring your lawn chairs and come hungry, because I will be cooking. We're gonna eat real good. We're gonna show you what Juneteenth, I'm gonna show you what Juneteenth is all about, because you're gonna eat good. We also wanted to not only do the kickoff, but one of the things that we're doing is taking Juneteenth into the communities. And so there on Saturday from noon to 4, there will be a Juneteenth in Iowa City at Mercer Park, as well as here in Coralville, thanks to Megan Foster. Hi, and Kelly, thank you so very much, because without you, we could not have done it. I came to you, I asked questions, I asked for money, you gave it to me, and now we're able to put on a Juneteenth celebration here in Coralville. I'm so proud of that. The Coralville Juneteenth will kick off with a Juneteenth play on the stage out here by the park. We got bouncy houses, water slides. We have gonna have free food as well, so come hungry again on Saturday. Gonna feed you again. And got a DJ playing music, got entertainment and everything. So we're very happy to be bringing Juneteenth in the community. People ask, why are you doing 3 Juneteenths? That's because sometimes people don't have transportation. Some of our marginalized people can't get from, if something's happening in Iowa City from Coralville, they can't get there, or they don't want to take the bus or take it and can't get back. So we're taking Juneteenth into the communities, and hopefully next year we can add North Liberty to this. So we're looking forward to this. Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your extraordinary organizing efforts. I am so proud that we are able to have an event here in Coralville, and I just want to highlight the work of the Black Voices Project. We love working with Black Voices Project, partnering with them. You do a lot of amazing work, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a photo.
Megan?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See everybody on Friday. That's right. You know, she makes the best mac and cheese. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Okay. On to item number 7, community comments. This is the time for community members to speak to us about items that aren't on the agenda, or items that are on the agenda but are not subject to a public hearing. Each speaker has 5 minutes, and we do reserve the right to adjust both the individual, both the comment time and the individual speaking time based on the number of speakers or any accommodations that a speaker might have. So I see that we have someone at the mic who is ready to speak with us this evening. Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Rex Brandstetter. I live at 2159 Lindcrest Drive here in Coralville. It's my pleasure to stand before you this evening, Mayor and City Council, and welcome Mr. Jones, a longtime friend, of course, and local businessman, family man, to the Coralville City Council. You do a great job, Keith. Welcome to the City Council, for sure. And then it's my pleasure to remember a little fact that might go unnoticed unless some local yokels figure this out, is that Coralville next year will be 150 years old. We were certified in 1873. Is when we became an official city in Coralville. And we have an individual here tonight who has been on the Coralville staff for 60 years. Mr. Deal has been here for 60 years. And using my simple math that I learned and sat in the back row in high school, that equates to, he's been the city attorney for 60 years out of 149. He's been the city attorney for 40% of the time that Coralville's been a city. That ain't hay. So, Good for you. Congratulations, Don. So I thought what I would do this evening is take a little reflection, give you folks a little snippet of what Coralville was like when Don walked in the door in 1962. All right. Let's see here. Let's take a look back, look at Don in 1960-62. Were you alive in 1962? Any of you in this room? A lot of you might. There you go. A lot of you might not have been earlier. Maybe some might not have been. Don would have been and was 30 years old in 1962, a law degree from the University of Iowa, working as an attorney at that time at the Bartley Law Office in Iowa City, also known later on as the Bartley and Bartley. Bill and Jean Bartley, who fashionably lived in the 800 block of 8th Avenue right here in Coralville, around the corner from the up-and-coming Brandstatter family. That was right around the corner. That's where they lived. Bill Bartley was a well-known attorney, and three of the Coralville City Council men at the time were councilors, were clients of the Bartley Law Office. So in searching for a city attorney, well, it's just kind of a natural fit there. So Bill Bartley became the city attorney. And at times, he sent Don Deal out, maybe to cover this meeting or that meeting. So that's kind of how Don kind of got started here with the city attorney. And then when Attorney Bartley left the position, it was pretty standard that we had an in-house attorney already, and that's when Don Deal became our attorney. Dan Fessler was the new mayor, as a matter of fact, and good old Helen Burjoyce was the city clerk, and she held that job for a zillion years. Helen was a stalwart of this community, and when you walked in the door, I was down at Old Town Hall, which is around the corner from where it is now, same building. Around the corner, you walked in the door, and there sat Helen at the long end of the desk, council desk we called it, with all the bills for the city of Coralville. And every day she sat and paid bills. That was her job every day. And then, of course, for council meetings, we cleared it off, and that's where we had our council meetings. I made $15 a month, by the way. Let's see. Councilors were Dr. R.G. Schreffler, who later became mayor, and unfortunately, Dr. Schreffler one evening at a council meeting had a heart attack and died right at the council meeting. He was a wonderful man. Herb Cochran, Dean Carpenter, who was the owner of the Superior 400 gas station on the Coralville Strip, where Hardee's is, where they changed your oil outside on the rack, not inside, but outside. And he later his family went on to own a Coral Fruit Market, of course, here in Coralville. And who else? We had Virgil Mortensen, who was an insurance man, and Clarence, known as C.H. Wilson, owner of C.H. Wilson Trucking, up where Chamber of Commerce is now, or up on First Avenue up there. He later became the mayor of Coralville. 2 meetings a month on the second and fourth Tuesdays at Town Hall, same building, but around the corner. That building also contained the police department, police courtroom, the city public works department downstairs, that was Tom Ross, and the room that used for Optimus Pancake Day. And Optimus Pancake Day started by the Optimus Club in 1959, so just a little bit before Don, but in the same building. We opened a new post office in Coralville in 1961, right on the corner down there. It's now the food pantry. That was the new post office, and I should tell you that the post office decided to build the building out there when they built it. We were a member of Coralville Independent Schools. We were not yet in the Iowa City Community School District. Coralville water was supplied by Iowa City, which led to a tremendous big fight over a land annexation with the city in 1966. The jungle drums were beating in Coralville in the mid-'60s, and the war was on the forefront with some of our neighbors at that time. The western edge of Coralville was roughly 12th Avenue, right here on 12th Avenue, roughly. And the 3 hot spots for entertainment in Coralville were the drive-in theater, which sat right out the east door here, Coral Lanes, 12-lane bowling alley down on First Avenue, and the Coralville roller rink. Not a lot of you know this, but there was a roller rink on the Coralville Strip, right where Walgreens is down there, just to this side of that. Across the street from Town Hall, which was around the corner, remember now, was the 2-door fire station with 1 truck, which was a 1957 Ford with a 750-gallon water tank, with a new truck on order in 1963, as a matter of fact, ordered in 62. The station had been built in 1936 on land donated to the city by the then Mayor Ed Kozier, who lived on the corner where Mayor Ketchy's daughter had the big art thing. That was the old Kozier house right there. In back of Town Hall was a city maintenance shed that housed the road grader, the small gray Ford N tractor, and 1 dump truck with a snowplow. That was our maintenance department. And yes, we did have a garbage truck on order at that time. The new post office had been extended to the area to be plowed and maintained by the town. So the town now had to come this way in order to maintain the streets. 10th Avenue paving project had yielded the first time paving to 10th Avenue. First time paving, when I was a kid, the first paved street in Coralville other than 5th Street, which was Highway 6, was 10th Avenue. And it was a big, big deal. Neighbors down next to the post office were already established, but you could see Coralville was coming this way, and Don dealt with all the Doctors Guild, who was a dentist, Dr. Skokestad and McLaughlin, who were her GP practitioner doctors, and Dr. Gene Arnold, who was a psychiatrist on that corner. And on the corner, down on the corner right east of Hillsbank, was Twetton's Furniture Store, all right? And there on the east side of that was John Simpson's Shell Station, where all his kids used to hang around and watch the cars drag on the Coralville Strip. Joe Pickert and his mattress factory was next to the Shell Station right now, right about just on this side of the American Legion there. The Blue Top and the Pine Edge and the Iowa Motels were hot stuff because this was U.S. Highway 6 right here. Coralville had 2 police officers, Chief John McGaffey, who lived on 11th Avenue, and Mr. Paul White, who lived on 1st Avenue, and they took delivery that year, 1962, of the brand new late 1961 Oldsmobile station wagon. It was light tan in color with a 1 single cherry on top, and it also had a stretcher in the back so they could quickly haul people to the hospital when there was an accident. And they just pulled up, put them on the stretcher, strapped them in, and away they went. There was no on-site anything. It was just get them over there. That was a new lumberyard had come to town on the south side of the strip, Bodie Lumber Company. Remember Bodie Lumber Company down there, which is now the Millennial Building right east of Dairy Queen. In late May of 1962, the Coralville Methodist Church decided to build a new church on 13th and 14th Avenue and moved up there in 1963, which is now where the food pantry is going, right there. The Coralville American Legion voted to build a new Legion Hall on the land on the Coralville Strip, as donated by Gordon and Ethel Dinsmore, and of course they are still there today. Mayor, I'm about done here. Kenwall Imports opened up on the Strip, which is which is now in the Dusty's Tire Building, and they brought something to Coralville that we really had never seen before. They sold MGs, Jaguars, and Triumphs, import vehicles. Quite a new novel thing to this area for sure. Interstate 80 was under construction on the north boundary of Coralville in bits and pieces. It didn't all just grow up at one time. Coralville had skeleton zoning at best, but we did have a P&Z committee. You can see some of their work on 12th Avenue between 7th Street and 8th Street, right off the corner to the top of the hill. If you go up that way, you'll notice on the right-hand side, the first north of 7th Street, on the right-hand side, a single 60 by 125 lots, and then there are 6 lots that are double wide. Well, I'll tell you the story of that some other time. Great interesting thing. Some businessmen got involved there, and they came out with big lots. Interesting. Coralville had a Little League on its own, we did, and we had Babe Ruth. We were a member of the Iowa City Babe Ruth League. We were known as the Coralville Tigers, and the coach was Tim Brandt, lived on 9th Avenue, later to be the mayor of Iowa City. Coralville was cooking in 1962. Lots of things since 1962, to say the least, and on into the future until tonight. So decades of Coralville City councilors and staff have had the wonderful opportunity to work and be informed by the knowledgeable, dry-witted attorney through thick and thin since 1962, Mr. Don Deal. Congratulations, Don.
Thank you.
In 1972, 1971, I was elected to the Coralville City Council. I was a college kid at the time, and the swearing-in ceremony was going to be on January 1, 9 o'clock at Town Hall. So I got a hold of Don, and I said, I'm a college kid, January 1 at 9 o'clock, that's going to interfere with my New Year's Eve festivities. Can we move it to January 2? He said, well, I'm going to be swearing somebody in on January 1st at 9. You better be you. So there we go. Thank you for your service, Don.
Thank you. Always such a treat to hear I always love hearing the history of the community. Thank you for that, Rex, and congratulations, of course, to Don. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to us this evening?
I wanted to just add something. I'm part of this 20 years plus. Kevin has been here. And
oh, sure.
We argue back and forth now and then, but I remind him that if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be here. And he reminds me, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
Fair.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to us this evening? Okay. All right, we will move on to item number 8. We have a public hearing for precinct changes. This is the first consideration of this ordinance that would expand the number of voting precincts from the recently approved 8 to 9 as a result of Coralville's population increasing to 22,318 residents in the 2020 census, and the state requesting these changes. So I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us on this item? Do we have any written comments? No written. Okay. I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2022-1005, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Coralville, 2011, establishing new precinct boundaries, introduced for first consideration by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any questions or comments on this item? We've gone through a few changes on this.
Yeah, the Secretary of State, I'd like to thank Travis Weipert and his office staff for helping through this. We had done this the first time, and then the state requested some changes. A couple quirky things that we have here. The 9th precinct will include the co-ops at the Brown Deer Golf Course, and they were originally going to have to vote at the Penn Township precinct, but the county convinced the Secretary of State that they should be able to walk across the parking lot to vote. So, but the Auburn Ridge subdivision, which was approved last year out on the old Meade property, that they will be voting at the Penn Township precinct, which I believe is at Liberty High School. So until the next census, when more will that they can get. The problem is the rules about crossing legislative district lines is what's caused that issue. So.
Thank you for that overview. Do we have any other questions or discussion on this item? All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
The ordinance is approved on its first consideration, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 9, another public hearing for a water plant filter media replacement. This project will replace the filter media at the water plant, and the bids for this are due on June 23rd, 2022. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to us on this item? Do we have any written comments?
No written.
All right, I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the resolution.
Resolution approving the plan, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for the water plant filter media replacement, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this item?
Yeah, this is the final project of our water plant upgrade that we started many years ago, and this will be working on the old original filters and replacing the material there. And so this will be done over a series of months, and I think, is it right, you do 2 at a time? Is that right? Yeah, 2 of the 4 will be done, and then the other 2. So this will be complete the whole project at the Coralville water plant.
Fantastic.
Will the water be any softer?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions on this item?
What's the lifespan of that filter?
Good evening. Dave Scheckinger. I'm an engineer with Veenstra & Kim, project engineer for this project. These filters have been operational for about 35 years, and the same media has been in those for that period of time. And it's just a function of how much water you run through those, and if the material starts to break down, as soon as the media starts to lose its angularity or its roughness, that's when it starts to become less effective, and we have to backwash more often. So it doesn't just fail completely. We just notice signs that we have to do a little bit more backwashing, which is wasting some water. So we tend to watch that, and as we get to a point where it looks like it's in need of replacement. But 35 years on the original, that's a pretty good life cycle.
Does this have any effect on the water usage for Coralville resident at all?
Not on the water usage, only the backwash water. If you have to backwash more frequently, that would be waste that comes from the plant, so.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion?
Do we have a range of bids we're expecting, or?
Well, the estimate on this is $135,000, and we did have several bidders attend the pre-bid, so we have several bidders that are interested. We would expect that there would be a slight range between bidders, but we're anticipating $135,000. Now, there is also an alternate bid that if we get into this and find out that the underdrain system that we can't see from the surface is in need of replacement, then we'll have a bid for that also in the package, and we'll have to consider that as well.
Very good, thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 10, well 15 improvements. This is a public hearing for a project that will drill a permanent well 15 and test the well to confirm that both the quality and quantity of water it can produce. And the bids for this project are also due on June 23rd, 2022. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us on this item? Are there any written comments?
No written.
All right, I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the resolution.
Resolution approving the plan specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for well 15 improvements, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Questions or comments on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 11, wastewater treatment plant biosolids transfer pump replacement. This is a public hearing for a project that will replace pumps and associated equipment that transfer thickened wastewater sludge to the sludge storage tank at the wastewater treatment plant. From there, it is held for future application to agricultural fields, and 2 pumps will be included for system redundancy. Bids on this project are also due on June 23rd, 2022. I'll now open the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us on this? Are there any written comments?
No written.
All right, I'll close the public hearing, and we will consider the resolution.
Resolution approving the plan specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for wastewater treatment plant biosolids transfer pump replacement, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any questions or comments on this one? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 12 is a development agreement. This agreement would outline the responsibilities for the construction of the Oakdale Boulevard extension, a sanitary trunk sewer line, and other development guidelines. And this is part of the continuing collaboration and work that we are doing on the Clear Creek Amana School project. Could I have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving a development agreement with Oaks Family Partnership regarding infrastructure improvements near proposed Clear Creek Amana Elementary School, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Questions, comments, or discussion on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 13 is for a transfer of funds. This item would give the Director of Finance the approval to transfer differences in the amount of net rental revenues and TIF revenues between funds and utilized for their intended budgetary purposes when they are different from their budgeted amount. Both the city's auditing firm and the Iowa Department of Management have suggested using the resolution process to accomplish this, and we have our Director of Finance, Tony Rowland, here to share more information with us.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year, when we put the budget together, that includes not only revenue and expenditure estimates, monies coming into or leaving the city, but the budget involves estimated transfers between funds for various purposes. One of them is the transfer of net rental revenue in the Iowa River Landing development. Net revenue meaning revenues minus all costs like property taxes, et cetera, to the mall TIF, Mall and Highway 6 TIF fund, and then that fund utilizes that amount to pay debt service. And this year, we have more to transfer than was included in the budget, the original estimate. And so instead of $168,000, which is the budgeted amount, we have $234,586. So we have $66,586 additional to transfer, as opposed, rather than simply transferring a higher amount than the budget the council adopted. The auditor and the Department of Management in these instances recommend a resolution approving that. So that is sort of the explanation for this.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Can we have the resolution, please?
Resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Wynn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any questions or discussion on this? I'll just start off by saying it's always nice when there is a surplus, when we have to make adjustments because there is a surplus. So do we just use those additional funds? They would we can use those to increase the payment to the debt service, or you talk, okay, so we could make a larger payment than what we had initially budgeted for.
Effectively, yes, from the
Yes.
amount generated from revenue and passed through the TIF fund.
Sure. And is this a new process? Have we had this situation in the past, or is this, talk a little bit about?
We've had it in the past, and in many places, just like here, the idea was to interpret that transfer that was budgeted, the intent behind it, as all of the net revenues available, and just go ahead and transfer all the net revenues. But since then, there was a legislative change that had to do with interfund transfers for local governments, and then the city's auditor and the Department of Management kind of put together a model resolution, and so we're utilizing that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
This might be a Kevin or Don question, but it looks like this resolution will apply to future years.
It should only apply to this year.
There's no year on here at all.
That's not it.
No, sorry.
So are you asking, Mike, will we need to?
We gotta do this every
Every-
year.
every
Let's
time
cover
we
us
have-
It's an every
into the
it's an
future.
every fiscal year item.
That's
Because
the
we don't know
intent.
we don't know what they are
Right.
year to year.
Just if there are surpluses, or would it also apply if there was a lower amount in the revenues as well? Would we
The
need to do the
intent
same thing?
is that annually, if I'm going to exceed a
Okay.
budgeted transfer, I would utilize a resolution.
So at some point, this becomes silly, 2 cents. Is there a dollar amount that we worry about?
You just got to we're just trying to follow the state's rules. And the resolution talks about each, I think it talks about each fiscal year we would do this for the budgeting purposes. And we won't know till the end of the year when all the revenues come in, at least till after, is it April, before the property tax revenue, the second half, the property tax revenues come in?
Yeah,
End of the fiscal year, you're saying?
Yes,
End of the fiscal year.
you don't really know this on the budget. We're just, obviously you guys are estimating, you're doing the budgeting in advance, and this is kind of a more real world, what happened resolution.
To your point, to your comment, there isn't really a threshold. There's probably, in terms of the guidance that I've been given, one solution would be whether we would want, whether this is the behavior that they want to encourage or not. People might tend to estimate high, right? But that has implications too. So my belief would be it'd be good to continue to make a best estimate and get permission.
So Tony, would you say that your estimate is conservative?
It turned out to be that.
Okay.
Well, we had additional leases in the year that we wouldn't have known at budget time a year ago. So there's been a significant number of new businesses, so that would make a difference.
No, I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying that, you know, how can we continue this trend? Is having surplus to pay off debt.
It's been my impression that Tony's estimates are always conservative.
I do try to lean that direction.
And I think I appreciate that, actually.
Better have extra money to spend
agree.
than not having extra money to pay for what you already spent.
Absolutely, totally agree.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 14, utility connection fees. This item is for fees to cover the cost of inspections for connection to public water and sanitary sewer mains. There will be a water connection fee of $791 and a sewer connection fee of $300 for all non-single-family home connections that are not specifically addressed in any existing water and sewer connection fee districts. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution ratifying and approving certain connection fees to be collected at the time of issuance of a building permit, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this item?
Yeah, this water superintendent and community development director and I were discussing this. None of us know the history of why single families residences were charged the fee, but nobody else. So if you were a duplex, a multifamily, or commercial, you weren't charged the fee, but if you were single family, you were. And they provide the same services for all of those entities. And so that's was just trying to make it fair for everybody that they pay the same cost.
And there's a significant amount of staff time
Yes.
that is associated with this, that a large number of our property owners were not paying.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this isn't an increase, that wasn't existent before, this
Right.
fee, yeah, okay.
Is there one for commercial property also?
There was not, but this would now.
This would also, okay.
Yeah.
And then the commercial get charged based on how big the meters and
I was
everything
gonna
are,
ask
yeah.
that too.
So,
Fantastic. Any other questions or comments on this
How
item?
did you come up with the amount? I'm just
That was-
curious.
That was what was being charged to single family, and we looked at the general cost, how many times staff had to go to the site for those services and the materials that they would use.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 15, administrative pay scale. This would it'd be an increase of 3% on July 1st, 2022 for employees not covered by a union contract and is equivalent to the increase approved in recent union contracts. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving an increase in the administrative pay scale effective July 1st, 2022, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any questions or comments on this item? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 16, Iowa River Landing Retail Leases. There are 4 action items associated with this agenda item. So we will start with item A, which is this would transfer the lease for Wine Styles Tasting Station from WSTS LLC to the new owner, Iowa City Wine LLC. The city needs to approve any changes in the Iowa River Landing retail lease agreement. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving an assignment and amendment of lease between the City of Coralville, WSTS LLC, and Iowa City Wine LLC, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Any questions or discussion on this item?
The terms of these agreements aren't changing, it just,
No.
Nope. We
Yeah.
just have the right to make sure that the person taking over the lease has the wherewithal to maintain the lease, and so that we wouldn't be in worse shape, so that they make sure we can have the rent be paid on time, like this tenant has the whole time he's been there.
so how do we make that assessment?
Yeah. By looking at their financials.
Do they give you that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item B. This transfers the lease for Skin Body Soul Med Spa from Skin Body Soul Erica Parrish Valdez, PLLC, to the new owner, MDJD Aesthetic Practice and Transformations Incorporated. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving an assignment and amendment of lease between the City of Coralville, Skin Body Soul Erica Parrish Valdez, PLLC, and MDJD Aesthetic Practice and Transformations, Inc., introduced for adoption by Councilmember Wynn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any questions or comments on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item C. This amendment is for the lease for Fuzzy's Tacos by reducing the size of the rental space and adjusting the rent accordingly. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving amendment number 6, that certain lease agreement with Taco Dirty to Me LLC, DBA Fuzzy's Taco, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. We're all giggling about the name.
It's good to have a Poison reference once in a while.
It is. It's a Poison song. The rock band Poison from the 80s, right?
So this, there's going to be the reason for the reduction, there's going to be a rental office for the entire River Landing district in this space that we'll be having some information on that coming up shortly.
Great. So it would be for the property managers
Yep.
and,
Yes.
okay, cool.
Like 400 square feet. I mean, it's not a large thing, but then there's somebody down there that everybody can go to.
That'll be great. That'll be a nice change. Any other comments or questions on this one?
I was confused by the floor plan, the schematic there, how you get to the restrooms, but I'm sure they've got that figured out. I couldn't tell but I realize it's a draft, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Wynn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item D. This item will extend the lease with Monica Berry, doing business as Celio, from July 31st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022, under the same terms and conditions. We have the resolution, please.
Resolution approving a license agreement extension with Monica Berry, DBA CDO, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Wynn. Questions or comments on this one?
They do intend to enter a full lease before the end of the September 30th, so they do intend to stay there and enter a full lease. It's just that takes longer, and so that's why this is being extended.
That's great.
Any other questions? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 17, Community Development Block Grant Program. This is for our owner-occupied housing exterior rehabilitation program. The original grant provided up to $25,000 per home for exterior improvements for 6 homes, not to exceed $234,994. And this amendment request will add 1 more home and extend the date from August 1st, 2022 to February 1st, 2023, in order to provide adequate time to complete the final home. And we have our city administrator, Ellen Hobble, here to share some information with us about this.
Good evening, and thank you. That was a very good explanation. I just wanted to add a couple extra items. The reason we have additional funding is because some of the homes didn't use the full $25,000. So we are fortunate, we're requesting this amendment so that we can use those leftover funds to do the 7th home. And the Iowa Economic Development Authority has indicated that they are willing to approve this amendment, and they are comfortable with it and looking forward to it. So the other thing I wanted to note is that we do need applications for this final home, and we are accepting those. And the information is on the city website, www.coralville.org. And currently, HUD just approved new income limits for this type of program. And someone with a household of 4 people, annual income up to $87,000 would be eligible. So we welcome applications, and the type of work that's eligible is new siding, new soffit, new fascia, new roof. So any kind of weatherization or code improvements on the exterior of the home. So look forward to getting some applications for this.
Thank you for that overview. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution authorizing a request to amend that certain Community Development Block Grant Housing Fund contract number 20HSG010, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Wynn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. I'll start off just with one quick question. So in order to, just for clarification for those that are watching at home, the terms are that the home needs to remain owner occupied for a certain number of years, is that correct?
Yes, that's a good question. So the home needs to be owner occupied currently, and then over the course of the next 5 years, the amount of the loan recedes 20% each year. So if the home becomes not owner occupied, or if the owner sells it, they would owe back a portion of the amount spent on it. But if they stay 5 years and it's owner occupied 5 years, the entire $25,000 or the entire amount spent is forgiven.
I love this program because I think it's a great way to preserve some of the existing housing stock that we have and improve the existing housing stock that we have.
That's exactly right. We've really had good luck with this program and really made a difference in several Coralville neighborhoods.
How many have we done? This is the only year we've done this, correct? Or how many homes have we done in total?
Oh, before I started, if you count before I started, I lost a little bit of track, but I think we're close to 30.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. We're hoping that when the opportunity comes around again, we'll certainly apply again.
I appreciate your work on this. I guess it's kind of a stupid question, but 6 homes, 25,000 is substantially less than 234. Where's the other, what is that, 84,000?
Yeah, it's a CDBG program, so there is a lot of administrative work that goes into it. They have to be tested for lead. A lot of technical work goes into it, as well as the administration of the program is handled by the East Central Iowa Council of Governments. So yeah, it all goes through them, and it can be a fairly expensive program. But that's something we've talked about, the Iowa Economic Development Authority, about just the cost of administering, but it also, federal money does come with a lot of rules, and it's just kind of the way it works.
Yep. Cheaper than getting a grant.
Yeah.
It's 51% for grants.
There you go.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ellen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 18, we have 2 items pertaining to Brown Deer Golf Club. This would be for an agreement approved on August 10th of 2021 to manage the food and beverage operations at Brown Deer from August 18th through December 31st, 2022. The partners have dissolved their partnership, so the current agreement will be revoked and Beer Makers LLC will take over and sign a new agreement with the same contract points and expiration date. All right, we will start with item A. We have the resolution, please.
Resolution approving the dissolution of a food and beverage operations agreement with Bunkers at Brown Deer Golf Club LLC for Brown Deer Golf Club, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any questions or comments on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. On to item B. Could we have that resolution, please?
Resolution approving a food and beverage operations agreement with Beer Makers LLC for Brown Deer Golf Club, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Wynn. Questions or comments on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Goodrich and Gross absent. Item number 19, we have another very special guest with us this evening. We have a report from the Iowa City Area Development Group from President Kate Moreland and Director of Business Development, Austin Corns. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for having us, Council, and for Kelly's support of ICAD to bring us here tonight. We're happy to give you an annual update. It's been a difficult couple years, as you know, so we have some hopefully good information to share with you tonight. So for those of you that are new on council, just a little update about our mission. It's really to create, collaborate, and lead regional economic development initiatives that contribute to the creation and growth of companies, wealth, and quality jobs. We aim to do this through the spirit of innovation and a culture of sharing that transforms knowledge into economic opportunity. We were formed in 1984, so we're coming up on a big anniversary here in a few years, and we serve the communities of Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, Kelowna, Solon, Tiffin, Tipton, the Amana Colonies, West Branch, West Liberty, and all of Johnson County. We are available to assist interstate commerce companies with location or expansion projects, workforce development, and entrepreneurial services. And I'm going to turn it over to Austin here to talk a little bit about our existing industry program and the work we've been doing with current existing businesses.
Great, thanks, Kate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about last year's Synchronous calls to get started. So Synchronous is our annual program for business retention and expansion across Johnson County. This is what we do with our existing industry to make sure that they have what they need to be successful and not only choose to stay here, but choose to grow here. So we do our Synchronous interviews every summer. So we usually kick it off late spring, early summer. I'm scheduling a lot of them today, actually. And we hit it last year kind of at a poor time. We were right in the middle of the Delta surge, right when we were really getting into the groove of it. But we were still able to get quite a few interviews, and we were happy with our overall results. Want to start at the very top end and look at it from a Johnson County-wide level. We saw that our companies are increasing their market share still. We see a lot of them have new products that they're ready to introduce, either have introduced or ready to introduce. We're able to identify 810 new jobs that year that had happened in the last calendar year. So that is looking at talking to each one of these companies and asking about their hiring that they had done within that last calendar year. So that our job numbers from Synchronous are always a little bit smaller than the overall job numbers that we're able to get from all of our different sources, and looking at other statewide programs where they're applying for credits and things like that. But the nice thing about Synchronous is we can point to specific jobs, and we know for sure that those jobs happened. And then, other than that, we were able to identify $82 million in investment, and we were actually awarded the Best of Iowa award for our Synchronous program this last year. Then some things that aren't as rosy as that we were able to identify as well. And this is, again, Johnson County-wide, but then also a trend across the state of Iowa and nationwide. Companies report being at risk of losing high-value employees. So C-suite turnover, things of that nature, are absolutely a risk that we see nationwide and then also right here in Johnson County. Recruitment problems, workforce is a constant challenge that we spend a lot of our effort on anymore, just trying to figure out how we can grow our workforce and make sure the companies are aware of worker availability. And then supply chain. We hear so much about it, and it obviously comes through in our Synchronous visits as well. People report not being able to deliver products on time because of supply chain disruptions that are delaying things. So that's on a Johnson County level. Getting into Coralville specifically, and we can send this out. I know it's kind of hard to see all of these small numbers, but it's important for us to do comparison on this granular of a level, because frankly, we think that Coralville stands out in a lot of really good ways. When it comes to the products we already mentioned, and the product market share growth, obviously, but then we are able to point to 510 of those 810 jobs that we're able to identify in our Synchronous calls were in Coralville. So significant growth right here in Coralville, and then also really good numbers when it comes to real estate in Coralville. It's pretty common knowledge that real estate is hard to come by. It's at a premium at the moment, and the thing that sets Coralville apart, we think, is the fact that there's so much biotech and med tech and med device and things of that nature, where while other people are sending their employees to work from home, it just can't be done in Coralville with a lot of the core industry here. And it fares really well for your real estate across the city. So that's companies like IDT and Civco that we see just with rapid expansion and needing more and more space. So it's definitely a good thing and something to hang your hat on. So then total workforce, we already went over some of that, some of the good numbers there. Community business climate, utility services, community services, all places where Coralville is ranking highly as well. Something that is worth noting is our broadband numbers and then child care services, something I'll talk more about here in just a minute, but it isn't a unique thing to Coralville. It's a problem everywhere. People need high-speed internet more and more all the time, and then lack of child care is slowing economic growth across, again, our region and in the nation. It's the leading cause in women not returning to the workforce after coming back from COVID. So it's something that we work hard to address, and definitely is there's no silver bullet, but anything we can do, we try to identify and make sure that we're highlighting programs that can address those things. Infrastructure needs that we identify, some of those coming out of those threats that I was talking about, but regional transportation, getting people to and from work is important. So anything we can be doing to make sure that our transit across our entire region is working better together. We want to be doing those things. Affordable childcare, workforce housing, those two things are, it's expensive to buy a house in Johnson County, and then it's expensive to get childcare once you've done that and you've moved here. Rural broadband, and then the thing that maybe we don't think about as much, but I think about a lot because I respond to a lot of economic development RFIs, is developable land. So land that has infrastructure ready to be developed that we can include in RFI responses and make sure that we are showing really good options when companies are looking to either expand or relocate to our region. So definitely long-term thinking with some of those, but as we have opportunities to create new developable land or take land that maybe is a brownfield now and make it into an asset moving forward, is something that we fully support, that's for sure. Synchronous update moving forward. We're starting that outreach right now with companies. I mentioned I spent a lot of time today actually scheduling interviews. The way that I can get help from the people in this room is as you talk to your local companies, please mention that it's something that is very important to how we do our business, do our work. It's how we keep our finger on the pulse of our business community. So just encourage folks to take that 45 minutes and sit down with me and just talk about your business. Usually once you get in the room, it's really fun to talk about your business. So we just got to get them in the room. The target industries that we're seeing right now, biotech, medtech, as I mentioned, we are just constantly responding to RFIs in biotech specifically. We see a lot of opportunity there. We have a lot of the different things that the companies are looking for as they reshore biotech projects from overseas, as they move from more expensive markets into the Midwest. We fare well, so we look good when we respond to those, and I think that's why we're getting a lot of interest there. EdTech, Kate's going to talk about here in a little bit. Advanced manufacturing is obviously a staple of our community. We see a lot of our core businesses working in advanced manufacturing. Logistics and distribution, that's a tough one in Coralville. There just isn't a lot of land for new warehousing, that kind of thing. We get a lot of inquiries for projects of that nature. So as we create new developable land, if it's a good fit for that, we definitely are always interested in including those pieces in those RFIs. Going to talk for just a second about Project Life. It might be something that you've heard about. We don't like to brag about second place. We don't like to celebrate second place, but it is we think that it's a unique use case, a unique scenario that is worth highlighting. This was a biotech RFI that we received in early May of 2021. We worked on it until February of this year. We put a lot of time and effort into it and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we ended up finding out that we were down to 2, and we lost out to another state in February. We hosted a visit in November with all of our city leaders. We submitted 4 sites, and they had narrowed down a North Liberty site as their most interested one. But it was a good example of community collaboration. We had Kelly at the table. We had Jeff Froon at the table. We had people from different cities all working together to make sure that we showed well and that we were very aware of the fact that this project, though, in one of the cities was going to be a huge asset for all the cities. So it's a good example of how we want economic development to work in our region. And then also it's just a proof point that we show well when we're talking biotech. And we have a lot to be proud of there. One of the things I do want to highlight real quick as we're talking about this is the research park. We have a lot of interest in the asset that is the research park. We think that it can be utilized better all the time, and we are very interested in ideas of how to market it better. We definitely submitted a lot, and we do think that is a very good asset here. So it's definitely top of mind. When it comes to developable land, we think it's one of the best pieces we have here. Back to you.
So one of the other tenets beyond existing industry is always helping new businesses start here in our community. And so some of our new programs this year that have really made, taken us great leaps are Builders and Backers. It was a national program from Heartland Forward, and we're the third city in the United States, third community area to have this program. And so it allows us to provide some Pebble grants for about 10 startup businesses at a time. And then they get a huge educational program, a national program with local mentors and local assistants, and then have a Pebble grant to take their idea to the next stage. And what it's really doing is feeding things like Venture School, the Accelerator, the BIPOC Business Accelerator that Tracy John Sargent's working on. And this year we've been able to expand that, so we'll do 3 cohorts, so it'll be 30 new entrepreneurs. We have a very large number of diverse entrepreneurs that are taking advantage of this program. It's really designed for very early stage, but often people without friends and family money to kind of get businesses started. So we've gotten great feedback. It's really been a powerful learning experience for us. We just were missing kind of that entry level funnel, and so we feel like this is a really good answer to that. We also hosted EntreFest last week here in the Iowa City area, and it was very successful. There's close to 400 people that attended that conference, and it was a really good showing for our area. The Iowa EdTech Collaborative is another piece of our entrepreneurship work. We were tasked a couple years ago from IEDA to really go all in on trying to develop that industry cluster here in the Iowa City area with all of our assessment companies and our EdTech companies, Peridec, HLT, some of your companies that are EdTech as well, Foundations in Learning, some smaller on up to the ACTs and Pearsons of the world. And so we are working hard to grow the number of EdTech startups, but also supporting the existing industry in EdTech. Education, as you know, is changing. We have a lot of technology solutions. One of the things we're really focusing in on is how can we, in partnership with the College of Education, look at how effective the technology is to kind of help administrators and teachers when they're getting inundated with all of these new technologies. Can we create what's called kind of this quality seal of approval, that they've gone through an efficacy process with us? We think that will draw companies here to be able to go through that and kind of have that extra level of accreditation, so to speak. We're also working to help pilot some of these EdTech companies in our classrooms, so we're working with school districts. We did a design dash this past spring with about 90 high school students and many teachers to learn about entrepreneurship. So that's really, Mark Butland on our team is really working hard to try to grow that. And he's partnering with people all over the state, but we're really aiming to kind of grow the cluster here. Workforce development continues to be a number 1, number 2, and number 3 challenge for our companies. So we know that there's still a lot of work to do. We're all trying to figure out what that magic silver bullet is. And so some of the things we're finding some success around, the ICR talent attraction marketing campaign that we do with our partners to the north with the Economic Alliance. We created a talent hub, so through that marketing, people can enter their name, put in their resume, and let people know they're open to moving to this region. And then we have a real life person that responds to them, learns about what they're looking for, and then we send out an email once a month with all of the resumes, contacts, and a little description of the people to our companies, to nearly 600 companies. So the hope is that, and we're starting to see some people being placed. We have over 500 people in the hub right now. So it's a lot of people that are raising their hand that they're interested in moving because they're taking the step of adding their resume. So we continue to monitor that and work with Sculpt on that marketing campaign. We also partner with the Business Partnership on what's called JOCO Talent, and that is a very localized workforce effort with HR professionals monthly to look at different programming, recruitment strategies, sharing best practices, skills-based hiring, just having good open conversations about things that are working for different companies. They share different ideas. I know Robin Thurm has talked about kind of her hiring, the way she's hiring now. Changing hours has really allowed her to hire more women in the workforce. So just being able to share some of those success stories, they're very open to helping one another. ICR Future continues to be the effort in K-12 to help our future workforce understand the careers of tomorrow. And we work regionally there. And then we will be and continue to be working with Kirkwood on their vision for the Johnson County area. You've probably seen the recent report for the Iowa City campus, and we're going to be continue to be part of those conversations. We held focus groups with local businesses. Kelly's been really supportive of getting that information to Kirkwood. I think it's incredibly important that this vision be something that we can all look to as a way to address inclusive economic development, making sure that we are upskilling people in the jobs that we need, and making it easier for people to access. ESL continues to be a gateway to that, and funding for that needs to increase across the board if we're going to really engage that workforce population. And we know that's where a lot of our growth in Johnson County is coming from. So we will continue to be at the table for those conversations and hopefully help in part of the design and working with our companies on what certifications and programs are best moving forward for Kirkwood to focus in on. We also work with Inclusive ICR, which is another regional coalition on DEI. We recently did a regional survey that was confidential for employers to take to understand small and medium-sized employers that don't have someone on staff to kind of take a look at their DEI policies and get a kind of a report back to themselves on where the areas of improvement might be. It also gives us a regional picture of how we're doing. So we'll start doing this on a more regular basis so that we can create the programming that our companies need around this. And we had over 100 companies take this survey this first time. And then I did want to mention ICAD helps support the Inclusive Economic Development Plan for Johnson County. So there's a Johnson County Economic Development Plan that we also participated in that the county did. And then the Inclusive Economic Development Plan is a more in-depth look through ASTIC planning around our BIPOC business community to understand the barriers and opportunities. Mayor, I think you were at the event recently where we came together, business people, business owners, to start working on ways that we can address some of these barriers for many of our small business owners and entrepreneurs. So ICAD will continue to be at the table and assist and work with our partners on making sure that we're looking at policies, whether it's for food vendors, whether it's things that are kind of continue to come up for people as barriers that we're helping advocate where we can and find solutions that are creative to help people be successful. And then just a few other activities to highlight. We did add a Resimplify, which is a new tool to our LOIS program. LOIS is kind of a clunky online platform where we put in all the available properties. And Resimplify is an add-on tool that actually scrapes for all of our available commercial property and puts it into LOIS for us. So Austin was very instrumental in making that happen, and I think it's really going to improve our inventory and making sure we know what's current without a lot of manual updates. Obviously, IDT we know is expanding, and Viewpoint Molecular is another one we're really keeping our eye on. They have raised some significant funds lately, and so just continuing to work with the university, with Viewpoint and IDT directly to ensure that we're understanding their workforce needs. Being a global company now, some of those people are outside of Iowa, so we just continue to try to work on building new relationships with the Danaher group. Obviously, in Coralville, ProTech was closing this year. It sold. Austin's continued to work on trying to market that property. We've shown it a couple times. I think it's got wet lab space. I think it's a perfect opportunity for a smaller biotech company. So we're very hopeful we'll find a tenant for that. Build Johnson County is an endeavor we started this spring and will continue to do quarterly, bringing together developers, our public officials, real estate professionals, to really look at what is the future of development. And we had a lot of conversations about affordable housing, sustainability, and really trying to improve relationships with people, having good conversation, so that we understand, what everyone's kind of up against based on the lens that they have. So those have been so far really good opportunities for people to build community. It's been a few years since people were together, and building continues to be needed. I think we're about 15,000 units short of housing just alone in Johnson County. So there's a lot we need, and we need to work together to make it happen. We have worked with a solar project in Johnson County that I just wanted to highlight because it has the potential to power all of Coralville and Iowa City, just giving you an idea of how big this solar project would be. It's currently going through a MESO study, and we'll have a couple more years before we'll know, but they are already in talks with different utilities around that. And so that would be out in the county, but we are supportive of that and looking for ways to ensure that that hopefully goes through. We also work closely with the South District and the RE collective group there. They've really kind of mobilized in a county-wide way to look at how race and equity are being addressed, and all the different organizations that are working on this. And so just being part of those conversations, understanding where we can be better service, where we can address some of those needs, and building relationships, frankly, has been really powerful. So those diversity markets that you're probably aware of are something that we just support and are working with them on. And then I already mentioned the Kirkwood planning, and I just wanted to show you our KPIs for this fiscal year. We have 3-year metrics, our campaigns for 3 years. So we're on target on all of our KPIs. We think that we're obviously well over on the new capital investment. That's largely due to the new hospital in North Liberty. But we continued. Austin thought he was done, but I said, no, we're just going to keep it like that. He said he met his 3-year goal. And then we keep track of the startup companies. The leads submitted is significant. We've had 23 leads this year that we have submitted RFIs on, which tells you that we are being looked at. We had really good response during Project Life from the site selectors to our community. They came to that visit. They're out of Dallas. They were extremely impressed and continue to stay in communication. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of leads as companies are looking, as Austin said, to reduce their cost of doing business, their commercial footprint in larger metros. So we just need to be able to really sell the assets we have here that can support them. I already talked about the Iowa EdTech Collaborative, and then the last thing is just the vision that we'll be back with my partners to talk about that with you probably in late July or early August. And we're very excited. We had great participation. We had about 15,000 votes on our online survey. We did 10 circles with our voices that we don't normally hear. We had young people, we had immigrants, we had people that are normally not at the decision-making table that were able to participate in those focus groups. And we're very excited. I think a lot of the work you are doing, the quality of life work, your investments in IRL, they are, we're on a great path. This is just designed to kind of give us a North Star that we're all moving toward collectively. I think there's ever been a vision for all of Johnson County together. So I think it's exciting as we look to the future to really think through how when we collaborate and work together, big things happen. And so we're excited and thankful to have your support in the process of creating that vision. I know it's been a long time coming, but I think you're going to be excited, and I know we are. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Any questions or comments? All right.
I always have stupid questions.
Okay, well, ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Just request for information. Okay, KPI?
Key performance indicator.
Okay, got it.
The RFI, I say RFI, sometimes they call them RFPs, sometimes they're RFQs. But it's companies looking for where they would like to expand to or relocate
Of course,
to.
I got
typically.
that part
Yeah.
of it. I just didn't understand what the
Yeah.
acronym was.
A lot of acronyms.
Your partners did not include the University of Iowa, I didn't think. Did I miss it?
Oh yes, they're a big partner.
Okay.
They're really a great partner in the med tech space. So
Right.
as far as
Yeah, and you mentioned the research park, and
Right.
I've met with a couple of those folks, and they're very interested in helping out.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time talking with our partners at the university. Hosted a company in town from Australia this last Friday with a new technology that's interested in partnering with some professors at the university. They came to the United States to meet with people from the university, and we just organized that meeting. So things like that. The university is always a huge partner. Project Life, we had worked with them from the very beginning, and they were definitely a big part of that as well.
Yep, we talk almost weekly. There's so much amazing technology coming out of the university as well, and so helping understand kind of the assets that are being developed here locally, and we saw that in Project Life, some of the scientists that this company knew all about these scientists at the university, and that's what put us at the top of the list, frankly. So yeah, it's a really important partnership, and John Darcy's team, the innovation team at the university, has really been great to work with. We also partner at Merge with them, so they have office space there, and so we see them daily.
Got it.
And I should have mentioned co-work at 808, Kelly, I apologize. We are full there. Good news. We've really seen an uptick in interest. People are tired of their basements, apparently, and so more remote working, and then also just expansions, like people that are adding some employees that want office space. So we've been working with the city on marketing that, and we appreciate that partnership very much. It's really important to have that space. It's a different space than Merge, but a lot of people prefer that type of office. So
it's also interesting to see how full the shared spaces in our co-working spots are as soon as school's out. Parents who work from home during the school
suddenly
season,
appear.
they suddenly
relate
need
to that.
another place to be.
Oh my goodness. Any other questions or comments?
Did you say that you would share this information with us?
Yes.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yep. Kelly, you have this.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And if there's any questions moving forward, please,
Yeah, please reach
don't
out.
don't hesitate.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. On to item 20. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or as presented.
Mayor, I would like to ask council to consider a motion to approve consent calendar as presented or amended A to X.
All right.
Seconded.
Moved by Huynh, seconded by Knutson. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Wynn?
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved, all ayes, with Goodrich and Gross absent. All right, city administrator report.
Yes, first I'd like to follow up on Rex's comments and also acknowledge our city attorney, Don Deal, for 60 years of service to Coralville. That is an amazing number. And for those of you that aren't into high math, he started when he was 30. So he had a very important birthday this last weekend, and would just like to acknowledge that as well. And we appreciate all that Don does for the community. And one of the things I found very early on is that Don is has a huge amount of history about our community. And that has turned out to be very important at many, many times, to think back and look at what happened or why something happened. And so I just appreciate all that Don has done for Coralville. Would also just like to welcome Mr. Money, Keith Jones, to the council. For those of you that are newer that are watching us, Keith has been a banker for over 40 years, was a banker for over 40 years in Coralville. 3 different banks essentially on the same location.
Same location, yeah.
So, I mean, it's amazing to me that you could have that kind of history in one spot in Coralville and have such a long history. I mentioned Mr. Money because that was one of my son's favorite things at Coralville Central was when Mr. Money showed up. And Keith did so many different things with Coralville Central and the reading program, including, I remember one time he was on the roof of the school, was one of the activities that he did, and that he stayed out overnight. And one of the things that people ask frequently before Fourth Fest is if I'd give them a hint of what Keith was going to do in the Coralville Parade, and that's always a highlight. Yeah. So now that you'll be back in the parade with the city council, you have big shoes to fill.
I know, yeah.
So, so welcome, Keith.
Thank you very much.
And then just note that today it was announced by the Iowa High School Athletic Association that Coralville will be the new home for the next 3 years of the state high school duals wrestling tournament in February. And it's going to be a great weekend because Thursday and Friday will be the state women's high school wrestling tournament, and then that'll be followed up with this the men's duels on Saturday. So 3 days of wrestling, and just acknowledge all the work that our Convention and Visitors Bureau puts in to put all these programs together. And finally, just wanted to make sure everybody knew that this coming Monday on the 20th, we will be having an open house for the 5th Street renovation, which will be looking from 12th Avenue to 20th Avenue, and it'll be at the S.T. Morrison Fireside Shelter, and if there is extreme weather, it'll move over here at City Hall. But this is a great opportunity to look at the plans for this important stretch of 5th Street from 12th to 20th, and also the open spaces from the library to S.T. Morrison Park to City Hall. There's some great ideas of how we can rejuvenate those spaces right in the middle of our community. And I don't think there can be any more important spaces than this section for our community. And so they've got some really fun things for people to look at, comment on, and dream about. And I think it's coming in a very important time because as we go into the 150th anniversary of Coralville next year, this will be a good thing to help us focus on an improvement for our community.
What's the time of that, Kelly?
It's 5 to 6:30. It's an open house, so you can come anytime during that time period.
Next Monday?
Next Monday.
Okay.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. Mayor's report. Well, I also just want to start by welcoming Keith. We're so excited to have you here with us. I have to admit, I feel just a tiny bit guilty that you will not be in the parade. You'll be in the parade with us, and that I feel like I'm robbing the community of the of the suspense of what is Keith going to do in the parade. I have to say, one of my favorites was the Christmas Vacation. You dressed up as Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie, yeah. Yep.
On Christmas morning. It was hilarious. Yeah. But like I said when we were having the discussion on Thursday night, Keith has contributed so much to this community over the years. There's too much to list, too many things to list, and too many things to talk about. We'd be here all night if we talked about the ways that Keith has contributed to the quality of life here in community and of our community. And he really, from the work that he does on the food pantry to just the work that he does with the community foundation to just everything. We're so lucky to have someone with your love of community, commitment to community, and your institutional memory and your historical knowledge. So we're really grateful to have you with us, along with Don. Congratulations, happy birthday. another tremendous public servant. We're very lucky to have you as well. I just wanted to, a few other things. I just wanted to mention again the Juneteenth celebration here in Morrison Park from 12 to 4 on Saturday. I want to thank Supervisor Royce Ann Porter for her work on that. I'd also like to thank Miss Keisha Jones. Miss Jones has been instrumental in getting that event organized and off the ground, as well as the county staff and the city staff. Sherry Proud and her colleagues in the Parks and Rec Department did a lot to help get that event going. And I am so incredibly proud of both this and the fact that we have our own Pride celebration here in Coralville. And I know that we've spent a lot of this evening talking about the past and the history of our community. And I am thrilled that we are making strides towards the future, where we are having celebrations and large public acknowledgments of the diversity that we have here in the community, and the acknowledgement of all of the individuals that make this such an amazing community to live in. So I am just so proud of us for getting that done, and so thankful for all of the organizers and the community members who step up to help make these events possible. So we have our Coralville Pride celebration in September, but this weekend there's also the Iowa City Pride celebration, which is a fantastic, fun, amazing, good time. I love it. That'll be on Saturday. There'll be a unity march beginning at 12 o'clock downtown Iowa City, and then all sorts of events and activities throughout the day on Saturday and on Sunday as well. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention, with these incredibly hot, humid temperatures that we have right now, there are opportunities for people to cool off in some of our public buildings. The library is a great place to go if you need a place to take a break from the heat, need a place to cool off. There is the new community fridge at the library, so you can head over there, grab a snack out of the community fridge, take some time to cool off. The rec center is a cooling place as well. And of course, we have our aquatic center that is open. Sherry, what are the hours on the aquatic center?
Monday through Friday, 11 to 7.
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 6.
Okay, and it's open every day. I know that we had issues, I think, was it last year with the staffing, and so we do have a full, yeah. Yes, so. Fantastic. Okay, and that is all I have. City Attorney's report.
I have nothing to add,
Oh.
believe it or not.
Really?
I liked all the things I heard.
Yeah.
Kevin?
Is this story supposed to mention the statue of you on Fifth Street? I've got nothing.
All right. Committee and council members report. We will start with our newest council member, Keith Jones.
Well, I actually do have a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to thank the council and you, Mayor, for this opportunity to serve. It's a real honor for me, and something I've wanted to do for a long time, so I feel really privileged to be able to sit here. I also am very thankful for the other 6 people that applied. And as I said in my interview, I do not intend to run next fall. And so there's opportunity for all of those people. If they would like to occupy a seat here, they'll have that opportunity. So again, thank you very much. The second thing I wanted to mention, today was the annual Grants Award Luncheon for the Coralville Community Fund. You mentioned the Coralville Fund. The Coralville Fund's been in existence since 2006. And the last 2 years, we've actually sort of broken away in terms of granting from the Community Foundation of Johnson County. We are an affiliate fund of the Community Foundation. but we are doing our own grants now. And I just wanted to mention the recipients of the grants this year. We had 17 applications, and we chose 7 recipients of grants, and those went to Child Serve, received a $2,500 grant. Families Helping Families received a $2,000 grant. Houses into Homes received a $2,500 grant. The Iowa Children's Museum, $3,500. Johnson County Historical Society, $4,000 to help with repairs on the old schoolhouse. No Foot Too Small, $2,000. Trail of Johnson County received $4,500, and they've got a neat program where they're partnering with the Coralville Fire Department, putting smoke detectors and weather radios in houses of aging people that want to stay in their homes. And then our last award, last year we approved a $20,000 commitment to the Coralville Food Pantries building campaign, and so we made the second installment on that. So since inception, the Community Fund has granted over $200,000 to Coralville organizations, and we'll keep doing that going forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Nice. Thank you very much. All right, Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Keith. And congratulations to Don. Can't believe it's 60 years. That's a long, long tenure. I wanted to invite community member to come out to a community meal this Friday. It is going to take place at the outside on the lawn of the Coralville Public Library, and the time is 5:30 to 7:30. There will be music, and bike library is going to be there. They will have bike and helmet for people to try on. They'll talk to people about, bike safety and all of that. And then Grove Johnson County will also be there with plant starter, so that community member can take home plant to start a garden or potted garden. And the menu is kebab. It's very tasty. We did a menu test last Wednesday, and everybody who get a taste approved it. So I would encourage you to come and hang out with us, get some good food, listen to some good music, and just really sit down and eat with one another. We haven't been able to do this for the last 2 years, and we are excited to come back stronger and hopefully better than before. The library summer reading program has kicked off, so please sign up. They have program for all ages, and I know that my kid are very excited because they are always looking forward to getting a Hillsbank sponsor shirt at the end of the program, and that hasn't been happening for the last 2 years, and so this is the first year that they're bringing it back. And my teenager is quite sad because they are no longer qualified for that. Although they have really good prize for the teen, and then they also have some reading program for adult too. So it is for all ages. And I want to echo on Mayor comment earlier. Juneteenth is going to have a celebration here in Coralville, Saturday from noon to 4 at S.T. Morrison. So I encourage community members to come out. So there's lots and lots and lots of celebration happening this week in our city. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. And then last but not least, Councilmember Knutson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Start by intentionally conflating a couple of things and congratulate Don on his 60th birthday. How's that? 2 great celebrations. That's incredible. Also want to welcome Keith. Really look forward to working with you. Great addition to the council. Thank all the other members. And my last comment, I had a trick question for most everybody about recycling and composting, Coralville's recycling and composting. It was a trick question because we don't really compost yet. And my last comment, I happened to be in Des Moines, I guess a week and a half ago now, and met Jennifer Trent of the Iowa Waste Reduction Center up at UNI and talked to her about come visiting us. She mentioned opportunities to combine composting with yard waste. And that's, I guess, for the last several years been allowed and something that we could consider, especially as we think about moving into a new facility with our recycling center going down to the quality care space sometime in the next year, I guess, most likely. So wouldn't mind getting some information from experts like her at some point down the road. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Nguyen, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Jones. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, our meeting is adjourned.